Welcome to the DevExpress Learn Now series, quick tutorials to help you get started using DevExpress controls. New for DEXperience 12.1, XAF now supports the entity framework as an ORM layer. Currently, this feature is released in the CTP version. In this video, we'll go over the steps required to create an XAF application using an existing entity data model. So let's get started. We'll start with a brand new XAF solution. From the startup menu, we'll choose the XAF cross-platform application template so we can create both Windows Form and ASP.NET applications. Our solution includes 5 projects, 2 application projects, and 3 projects that we call modules. Application projects are only intended to set up applications. The Win and Web modules are intended for the Win and Web specific stuff respectively. The MySolution.module project is referenced both in the Windows Forms and ASP.NET application projects. We'll use this module to implement platform-independent stuff. For this demo, we'll put the entity data model in this module because we want our entities to be available on both UI platforms. Since we'll need parameters of the entity data model connection string, let's declare the metadata and provider constants for the sake of ease of use of these parameters. Here is my metadata constant and the provider constant. Here's our entity data model. It includes 2 entities, an employee and a task. They're related by the one-to-many relationship. We have custom data classes for our entities, so let's add them to the common module to apply some XAF attributes. We'll need to add necessary references. Now let's apply the default class options attribute to both classes to have the employee and task items added to the main forms navigation. To specify the image that will represent the employee and task objects in a UI, let's apply the image name attribute. BOEmployee and BOTask are the names of images from the built-in images library. As you can see, the description property of the task class may have a maximum integer value. If this happens, it's better if a memo edit is used to display it. Now that we're finished with our data model, we should set the ORM tool that we want to use. Currently, XPO is used by default. To use the entity framework, modify the implementation of the Create Default Object Space Provider method in your Win application and Web application descendants. In this method, create an object of the EF Object Space Provider type. This is the object that will be used for creating an object space of the EF Object Space type when the application is running. First, let's add a reference to the DevExpress.expressapp.ef assembly. Now pass the object context type used in our application. Along with the types info object connection, we can get it from the object passed as a parameter, metadata, and provider. We can get them from the connection string created for our entity data model. Let's modify the Create Default Object Space Provider method of the Web application class descendant in the same manner. We'll have to add required namespaces and a reference to the DevExpress.expressapp.ef assembly. Now, let's build the solution. There are errors found. Let's add one more reference. Now in the isExportedType method of the common module class, use the EF type info source object to detect exported types because an XP type info source object is used by default. Finally, let's specify an appropriate connection string to connect to an existing database. Okay, let's run the Windows Forms application and check to see if everything is working okay. As you can see, a UI is automatically generated for our entity data model. I can create new business objects as well as delete them. As you can see, there's a lot of built-in functionality in the auto-generated interface. The Express app framework also allows custom auto-generated UI, as well as the ability to add new features and use built-in modules, but we'll cover that in another video. Now let's run the ASP.NET application and see how it's generated using our entity data model. As you can see, it contains the same basic functionality as the Windows Forms application. Thanks for watching. Let's see what develops.